Do you ever wonder where we go after this? Are you high right now? Do you ever get nervous?
Hey, welcome to Modern Investing Techniques, episode 120. Today is July 28th, 2026. I'm Patrick, broadcasting from Vancouver. Let's look at what the markets are telling us today and find some opportunities. Quick reminder, everything we discuss here is for education and entertainment. The practice investment of the day uses simulated trades with no real money. I'm not a licensed financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice. Always do your own research before putting real money to work. Canadian TFSA holders eyeing fintech names should watch PayPal's post-earnings momentum after its strong Q2 beat, as it could signal broader sector resilience. The S&P 500 closed at 7,431, up 0.2%. The NASDAQ Composite closed at 24,891, down 0.2%. The TSX Composite closed at 35,693, up 0.4%. Fed Chair Kevin Warsh launched 5 internal task forces after his first meeting to rethink economic analysis and communication, with the first test scheduled for Wednesday. Former Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic urged caution against change for its own sake, warning it could lead to suboptimal outcomes. This development fits the ongoing central bank rate cycle arc we have been tracking, as Warsh's task forces directly address how the Fed reads the economy and communicates policy shifts. UPS raised full-year guidance after beating Q2 expectations, while Visa announced plans to cut 2,600 jobs. The central bank rate cycle remains the macro backdrop for all of these moves. The wheel strategy combines selling cash-secured puts to acquire shares at a target price and then selling covered calls against those shares to generate income in a repeatable loop. Today's options-focused content highlights how screeners can automate both legs instead of manual contract selection, which reduces emotional bias and improves consistency for income-oriented accounts. Canadian investors can implement this in a TFSA using interactive brokers options chain tools by filtering for high probability short puts on stable names and matching covered calls with similar deltas. The approach has historically performed best in sideways or mildly bullish markets where implied volatility remains elevated but underlying trends are stable, though it carries assignment risk if the stock gaps sharply lower. Risk management requires position sizing at 1 to 2% of portfolio capital per trade and strict adherence to defined entry criteria, rather than chasing premium alone. Pairing the two screeners into one system turns the wheel into a mechanical income engine, rather than a series of ad hoc decisions. Screeners also allow users to set repeatable parameters such as minimum premium thresholds and delta ranges, so the same criteria apply across multiple cycles without reevaluating each contract manually. This systematic pairing directly addresses the common failure point where investors select puts and calls independently and end up with mismatched risk profiles. If today's momentum strategy interests you, the Interactive Brokers platform is exactly how you would screen for setups like this. This is a simulated trade for educational purposes only. No real money is involved. This is not financial advice. Today's pick is none, and we are monitoring Visa. The catalyst is Visa's announced 2,600 job cuts that signal cost discipline after recent earnings, potentially supporting margins in a higher rate environment. We are watching for a close above the 50-day moving average on volume exceeding the 20-day average. Current price action shows support near recent lows. The stop loss is set at 8% below entry to limit downside if macro data weakens. The maximum acceptable loss aligns with 1% portfolio risk. The target is plus 3% to plus 6% over the weekly window if volume confirms and sector rotation holds. Confidence level is medium because two factors, the cost-cutting catalyst plus valuation buffer, align, but sector headwinds from broader rate uncertainty remain. This setup demonstrates how to layer a valuation screen with same-day volume confirmation before treating any rebound as actionable. It directly applies the rule that depressed multiples can buffer momentum rotations only when volume validates the move. Listeners learn to require that extra filter rather than entering on news alone. About 18 days ago, we simulated buying DAL on earnings resilience, and it closed down 1.41%. That outcome underscored how even strong revenue prints can falter without sustained volume confirmation. The lesson is to require volume validation before treating any earnings resilience as a completed setup. What this teaches us is the value of waiting for confirmation rather than acting on the initial print alone. Interactive Brokers provides low-cost options chains and screeners for covered calls and secured puts directly inside a TFSA. The platform's API also supports custom alerts for volume spikes above the 20-day average, giving retail users the same data edge institutions use for execution timing. Access requires a standard brokerage account with options approval. The basic tier is commission-free for stocks and low per-contract fees for options. Users can also set custom delta filters and premium thresholds, so the same screening logic applies across multiple wheel cycles without manual re-entry each week. The Javelin 2026 Canadian Digital Banking Scorecard ranks CIBC highest among major banks for mobile and online capabilities. It highlights proactive advice features that can surface personalized TFSA contribution reminders and tax loss harvesting alerts. Investors can use the Winning Banks app to automate contribution room tracking and receive real-time alerts on dividend reinvestment opportunities. The full report is available via the Financial Post link and requires no subscription to review the top-line rankings. UPS expects third quarter domestic revenue to be flat, yet confirmed it has moved past prior operational bumps, pointing to improving parcel volumes. The company beat Wall Street expectations in its second quarter report and raised full-year guidance as a result. Add UPS to a watch list for any retest of the 50-day moving average before considering a position. PayPal reported a solid earnings print that could support its valuation relative to private peers eyeing higher bids. The strong quarter also raises questions about whether PayPal's asking price in any potential deal discussions would increase. Review PayPal's options chain for 30-day covered call yields if the name is already in your TFSA. Technology and consumer stocks led Monday's advance, while resource shares lagged, setting up potential sector rotation opportunities. Today's trading is expected to be driven by additional earnings reports, commodity markets, and U.S. economic data releases. Check your TFSA allocation to XIU for any overweight in resources before adding new energy exposure. Enbridge continues its long record of annual dividend increases, offering Canadian investors a stable income name inside registered accounts. The extended streak provides a consistent income stream that fits TFSA and RRSP income generation goals. Calculate the current yield against your TFSA target income level before adding to existing holdings. Portfolio performance metrics are not available in today's briefing. Our AI analysis is learning from valuation discipline patterns and adjusting accordingly. Imagine you bought a broad TSX ETF last week when the central bank task force news first surfaced, and your order filled at the prevailing ask. The actual path from click to execution can reveal how liquidity evaporates during stress. In 1929, the Dow fell 89% over 3 years after margin-fueled speculation collapsed, with recovery taking until 1954. Black Monday in 1987 saw a 22.6% single-day drop triggered by program trading and portfolio insurance, yet the index regained its level within 2 years. The dot-com bust erased 78% from the NASDAQ between 2000 and 2002 after speculative valuations detached from earnings, with full recovery stretching 7 years. The 2008 crisis produced a 57% S&P 500 decline amid housing leverage and bank failures, requiring 4 years to return to prior highs. COVID's 34% plunge in March 2020 lasted only 23 trading days before new highs, aided by instant fiscal and monetary support. What most retail investors miss is that every crash featured a preceding period of compressed volatility and rising leverage. The professionals always check margin debt levels and VIX term structure before sizing new positions. The biggest mistake with crash preparation is assuming the next event will match the last one. Instead, always maintain a written re-entry plan tied to fixed percentage drawdown thresholds, rather than trying to time the bottom. Open your brokerage platform, pull up the 30-day options chain on Visa, and calculate the annualized yield on the nearest out-of-the-money covered call. Note whether it exceeds your current cash equivalent rate. Before we wrap, pull the 30-day Visa options chain tomorrow and compare the nearest out-of-the-money covered call yield against your cash rate. That's modern investing techniques for today. If you found this useful, share it with a fellow investor and subscribe wherever you listen. Check the resources page for tools and platforms we discussed. We're back tomorrow. Keep learning, keep investing. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at NARA Network. Links in the show notes. And before you go, this show is part of the NARA Network, a family of daily podcasts on tech, science, and markets, each one a short, sharp briefing you can finish on the commute. If today earned its place in your feed, here's your next listen. Models and Agents, your daily briefing on AI models and agents. Find every show free at naranetwork.com. And on the website, every episode's visuals live in our free image gallery at naranetwork.com/gallery. Royalty free under Creative Commons. Download with attribution. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.
Do you ever wonder where we go after this? Are you high right now? Do you ever get nervous? Do you ever stay awake, counting sheep like all the time? What's your life like? What's your purpose? When's your birthday? What's your sign? Are you down right now? Are you stuck up in the past? Are you still thinking about all the times that you didn't laugh?